Hello everyone and welcome back to Rose Lane. Okay, a few of you had asked me about putting together a video or a couple of videos on how I did the whole piece that I did for Angela Kerr's friendship challenge entry. Not just the little, what I'm now finally calling the Trifold Tuxedo Pocket, because nobody knows what to call it, so I decided I'd give it a name and we'll see if it'll catch on. Pull my chair in a little bit. I'm doing a journal for someone right now, and I was only going to do 2 signatures. But I decided what I was going to do was I would add a 3rd signature to this journal and do that centerpiece, do a 3rd signature, I should say, as using that piece that I did for Angela. So it's not going to be in the blues and pinks and the frilly, girly stuff. This one is more of a, I wouldn't call it a botanical, but it's got birds and flowers, but it's in kind of creamy oranges and buttery golden yellows and things like that. You'll see as I choose papers and as we go along, and I will eventually do a flip through on the whole piece when it's done. But in any case, I've been watching people's videos who have been doing this Trifold Tuxedo Pocket, and they've been struggling with measurements. They've been struggling with trying to get it right and line it up, and it really is pretty simple. Now, my son happens to be really, really, really good at math, and as a matter of fact, he did not get that from me. If you ask my son, he'll tell you that I can't even add and subtract. So if I can figure out measurements on this, or anything that I do in an easy way, as elementary as it might be, it certainly makes it easier for me. And I'm going to try to show that tonight, how easy it can actually be to do a pocket like this. I have a couple of sizes of paper. I have the 8.5 by 11. I have 12 by 12 scrapbook paper. I'm probably going to just pull something else from somewhere, just something. I don't know. I'll find something. Just to show you that they can even be made smaller. It doesn't matter the size of the paper. It can work without even really having exact measurements. So my first thing that I'm going to show you is, I already put one together here, and I did it in coffee stain paper because I'm going to cut pieces and decorate it that way. Did watch Gail Augustinelli's Blue Fern video that she was doing these pockets for, and she had wanted to do it with the 12 by 12, and it really is pretty easy. So I'm going to save this one for a second. I'm just going to put it to the side, and I'm going to start with this one. This was, you'll recognize this paper, I think. This was the Hobby Lobby paper, and you can see down here it's got this little thing, so we're going to work on covering that up. So what I'm going to do is show you the quickest and easiest way to do this. One thing you can do is to just fold it like, ooh, I'm so close to the camera, but you can fold it in thirds by eye this way. It takes a little playing, but it can be done. I'm practically there right now. I might be really close, so I don't even know if that is, if that's registering, but you can see that I'm pretty much right there. I can play with it a little bit more. You can do it that way, or you can just mark along the edges. What you have to remember, and I'm using this little ruler today because it's got metric on the other side, which, believe me, I don't know. But, you know, I can count lines. That I can do. I can count, apparently, sometimes, on a good day. In any case, this is 12 inches. So what you want to remember to do is simply to leave a little bit of space so that you can fold it. In this particular one, I'm just going to fold it because I want it to be flatter. I'm not going to do a whole bunch with it, and I'll explain that as I go along. So normally you would mark, these are your 3 sections, 4, 8, 12, right? Well, what we're going to do, because we want space to fold it in, we're just going to come back 1/8 of an inch, and we're going to put a line right there. So we're at 3 7/8. Okay, here's your 8 inches. We want the center a little wider than the flaps, but we want the flaps even. If the two side flaps are not even when you turn down that triangle piece, they will not match. Okay, the bottoms will not match. One will be higher than the other. So there's your 8. We want more space in the middle, so we're going to come over here to 8 1/8. That's that. I'm going to get my scoreboard over here. Let me just, this is one of those foldy kinds from We Are Memory Keepers, so I'm just going to, like they say, it never works when you're on camera, right? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to fold. And when you're doing something that isn't exact, where you're going to put your marks. Now my marks, I'm going to turn around this way, so I think maybe you can see the marks better if I do it this way. If they're not exactly in the lines, as long as you're flush either here or here, one side or the other, you can move your paper to anywhere. I can move it even at, this is at 3 7/8, but I can move it to 5 if I want to. It doesn't matter as long as it's straight. So I'm just going to go here, and I'm going to just go on my mark, try to carefully, and this is relatively thin paper, so I don't want to press too hard. And I'll just, again, find my mark. Because I've marked the spot, I don't have to count on the ruler here. And right at the moment, that's all I'm going to score, okay? I'm going to put this over to the side, as I will probably use it again later. So the first thing you're going to do then is you're going to fold these lines. I want to fold it this way because that, see, I'm already doing it. This is going to go up that way, and that's going to fold back. So that's going to fold in. Okay, so we're going to go up. We're going to fold this way, this way. Let me just kind of press that a little bit more with my nail just to make it go. Okay, and make sure that it's even. It's the one thing about 12 by 12 paper on a just about 12-inch board. It doesn't go well. And then you'll do the other one in this way. I think I want it to come over a little bit more. I want it closer. I don't want too big of a gap. And I'm not worried about this particularly because this is really just sort of a prototype for you. So what I did was I moved it over about another 1/16 of an inch. So instead of doing it at 3 7/8, you would do it one tiny 1/16 of a notch over, which would be 3 15/16. So instead of doing it, let me get my pencil, and well, let me do it here. Instead of doing it here, you're going to do it here. Okay, and that just leaves, you can see where my other mark is, that little bit of a gap. And we're going to bring that over a little bit more. Make sure it's straight, which you probably can't see because of the pattern. Now this particular pattern is sort of directional. It technically goes this way, because like the stems sort of, the flowers sort of go, but they twist and they turn, so that's okay. So then we're going to take the pockets and we're going to fold them up, okay? And what I'm going to do, well, actually we're not going to fold the pockets. We're now going to take this, and I want, in this particular case, I want the white on the inside. Oh, and something else you can do if you don't want the white, you can coffee dye or tea dye just the inside by brushing with a little foam brush with coffee and tea or something like that, or spraying. You can ink it, but it takes a lot of ink and it takes a little bit of time. So what we're going to do then is, since this is my inside, I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold down the flaps first. And I don't know if you can see where my score line actually is, but I'm about a 1/16 of an inch away. And I'm just going to bring that down. I didn't notice that this had a little little line here. Let me see if I can pull that out. It's actually just rolled. I'm not sure why that is, but nothing a little ink can't take care of. So we have that. And then we do the other side and bring that down about 1/16 of an inch away. Okay. The next one that I do, I'm going to make it gusseted, so well, you can kind of see it on here, if you can see this one. Because I want to put something a little thicker in the middle of that, and I'm going to show you something else with that one. So then, this is what you have, okay? There's your pocket. This is what you have. Now all you have to do is turn your pockets up, okay? So we're going to take this and we're going to bring this up wherever you want it, okay? If you want them way down here, if you want them a little further up, I like to leave a little bit of space. I'm doing it this way so you can see where the flap line is. I'm not actually going to do it, but I'm just kind of showing you. Excuse me, I like to leave just a little bit of space because if you're going to put, this is a little wide, but if you're going to put a tag in, if they're too close together, it's very hard to get the tag in. But if there's a little space, it's a little bit easier, okay, to get the tag in. Also, one of the ways that you can fasten things is by putting a little grommet in here, which has to be done before you do finishing on the inside, so you can cover that. So anyway, you just decide if you want a very large space, you'll be down here. If you want a smaller space, you'll be up here. So we're just going to take this then. This is the front. So we want the pockets to go this way. And like I said, I'm going to leave just a little bit. That seems reasonable. Over a little bit more. Okay. All right. And that's going to go like that. So now we have this, and I'm going to do the decorating here on the bottom. Okay. And I'm not going to decorate this. I just wanted to show you what I was doing. So you cut a piece of paper, which I don't happen to have one for this because I'm just showing you what to do. And when you cover it, of course, you're going to cover that little thing. You're going to do something over here, however you want to do it. You can put paper in here. If you want the color on the inside, you just fold it the other way. It just depends on what you want. If you want to leave it this way, do that. Okay. If you want to leave it this way, okay. When I leave it with this on the inside, it's so that you can journal. That was my original intention. That's why the first ones of these that I did, I had left them open so that they would look, you know, an open space where you could journal and then cover your journaling with the tags or whatever else you're putting in. Okay, so that's what we have there. We've got these lined up. Now your color's on the outside. If you coffee or tea stain, of course, then that's not going to look quite so white, okay, in between. Or you can ink. Depends on what you're going to do. In this case, then, you're just going to line this however you want to line it. And then you have your pockets, and you can decorate on the colored part instead of on the white part by cutting paper. Either way, you can do it. Either way, this way. If you have it on, let's just say this is a journal page. Move these things out of the way. Okay, and you've got your centerpiece down here. You can put it on the page like this. On this side, you might want it to open this way, okay? On this side, though, you just flip it, and then you can open it the other way. It doesn't matter. What I generally do is I make a hinge, and I put a hinge on the back. This one is a little short because I made it for this one. But you put the hinge on the back over here, and then you can hinge it. And that's usually what I do. And of course, this is not glued down. But then it'll open this way. So it'll still allow you journal space if you have it on coffee dyed paper or tea dyed paper, or some sort of very light pattern paper, for instance, maybe something like this, where you could still write over that as well. I'm going to be actually using that in the journal. So that's how you do this particular one. Okay, this is how this turns out. If you want to use double-sided paper, and you can see I didn't score this, I just folded it up. Actually, I don't think I burnished it, but I just folded it up where I wanted it, and that was it. Okay, the problem that you have when you have heavier paper, let me get this out of the way, is that it's going to want to pull in, okay, because there's not enough space, it's too thick to let it lay really, really flat. So in this case, what I'm going to do, and this is directional, this paper, so I'm going to use this way, okay? So what I want to do is I want this to be my outside, okay? So in this case, I'm going to try to do it. I want to gusset this one, okay? So I think what I'm going to do on this one, I want to do it particularly deep, so I think I'm going to go about 1/4 of an inch for a gusset on here. If you watch Roxy Creations, Rachel, her videos for her friendship journals, my entry for her was one of these, just this. There was no other piece to it. It was just this. I can't remember. I think it was like 157 or something like that. I think I was number 157 or something like that. I made something very thick. I did hers in a medieval Renaissance theme, and I made a very thick trifold tag, sort of a tag with tags in it. So I needed it a little deeper. I needed it to be able to hold something thick in the middle. So I created a gusset on that one to make it a little bit better, or a little bit bigger. So what we're going to do with this one is we're going to decide where we think we want those to go. It's easy when it's a nice even number like 12. If you want to, you've got all these lovely little lines on the centimeters, so you can just count 1, 2, 3, just like that. If I have to, that's what I do. And if it comes out to an odd number, I just go between the two lines. Where it falls between the lines, I just go between the lines, and that's 1/2 of that. That's my very technical way, and I apologize. There's a fly down here who I think just flew under the camera. But that's my very technical way of measuring things. So let me go back to something I'm a little more familiar with. So we've got 12 inches here. So I think what I want to do is I want to mark my 4s. I'm going to try to mark my 4s here. 4 and 4. And I'm going to come out, since I want 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to come out 1/8 of an inch on either side. Okay? 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch on either side. And I'm going to score that because this is much thicker than the other one. Of course, I'm piling things on top of my scoreboard. All right. So let's get this in here. Get my my bone folder. I'm going to move up just a little bit. I'm hoping you can see my marks are here. I'm hoping I'm in the frame. So I'm just going to score on either side of that. So here's my score line. I'm going to try to be careful. I have a tendency with thick paper to go off the line. So I have to go very slowly. So there's one. If I go too fast, I like pop out of the ridge and go into the next one. And then the other mark over here. So I apologize for going slow. I'm just trying to be careful not to pop out of the lines here. And I'll move this over just so that I can get into the middle a little bit better. There's my lines lined up in my little score things. My little score ditches, or whatever we call them. Furrows. Do one. And then the other. So with this one, the reason why I want to make this one thick is in using the double-sided paper, there are so many papers out there, the 12 by 12 scrapbook papers, and they're so pretty. And what bothers me sometimes about them is that depending on what you want to use them for, if they're double-sided, you end up gluing one side down. So if I have double-sided paper like this, my hope is to use it where you could see both sides. So doing something where you could be able to see both sides of the paper, because you're paying for both patterns and one pattern gets glued down. So I try to think of things that I can do. I don't have a lot of it, but some of them I do have, and I try to think of things that I can do with them that won't be so, you know, where I lose the other pretty side of the paper. So in this case, we're not going to lose the other pretty side. So we're going to do both of these. Okay. I'm going to do that one. Open that back up. Do the first one here. Or the farthest one, I should say. And then do the second one. There. So you will, with these, I haven't figured out a way to make that not happen, but you will with these thicker pieces of paper find that you end up needing to trim in a few different places. This doesn't look straight to me. It does not look straight to me. Okay. Let me try to straighten that out a little bit. See if I can get that a little bit straighter. Come, 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 come. Come, 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 come. All right, I'll pull it that way. It's a little bit better. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to turn my mat. I think I want this to open this way, okay? So what I'm going to do here, this one I'm going to leave alone, but this one I'm just going to trim. I'm going to turn my mat a long ways, and I'm going to get my metal ruler, which you would think should keep me from cutting it, but alas, I always manage to shave some metal off. So I'm just going to take a thin little piece off of this end. Right here. I think I've got everything. I hope I've got everything. Of course not. Okay, just trim the top up here. So anyway, what I want to do with this piece is make this into what a lot of people have been doing, which is making it into an ephemera folder. I think I still want a little bit more off of that. I do. And I think I'm going to trim this side down a little bit as well. So I'm going to go a little bit more. A little straighter here, I think, I hope. It's probably getting me time for me to change my blade a little bit. And then I'm going to also take just a sliver off of this side. Just a sliver. I don't think you can see all the way up to where my ruler is going. You may, I don't know. And if you do, you can see the mess that's on my desk. But okay, just a sliver there. All right, I'm gonna move this over here. And then we have that piece. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn down these first, and that will determine how deep we want our pockets, whether we want it up close or down a little bit further. So we're gonna turn them, and since we've got this gusset, we wanna turn it only to this first line closest to us, okay? And so in a minute, I'm gonna show you what I mean. And I'm gonna leave a little bit more space here. Not so much for this one, but for the other one. And I think I'm gonna fold the other one to the outside. I don't know if I did that on the other side. I think I did do that on the other sample. On my original ones, I had done it, yes, I want these to the outside. I had done it one out and one in, so that it was a place where you could lift up and journal inside where the page was plain. So that was my original intention. So like I said, I'm going to stay just a little bit further away from the edge of this, or from this fold line, than I would normally on a thinner piece of paper. Okay. So fold that there. And then, so this is what we have, which actually looks kind of pretty, I think. And then we're going to fold the pockets up. So the pockets are going to go up this way. And we just have to determine, you know, this looks, look at that. If I leave it right there, how pretty is that? I've got that nice pretty word right there. So guess where my pocket's going? It's going right there. So let me see. Try to get this a little more even. And now when I finally fold this, you'll see what I mean by, I'm trying to get the lines lined up so that they stay together. And I think that's right about where, whoops, I want to be. Okay. In this case, I'm not scoring the bottom. I'm just folding it up, and then I'll do this. So now with this thicker piece of paper, you'll see, maybe you can't see it. Can you see, let me put something white. No, that's not gonna work. I'll do this. No, that's not white. Here, something I cut out, but you could be able to see here. You see this little line here. There's not a whole bunch you can do about that because of the thickness of the paper, okay? So something that you can do is to just sort of fudge it a little bit, and that is to just sort of cut up and out a little bit, just to sort of follow that line, all right? I'm not going to do that at the moment. What I'm trying to do is mostly just to show you what I mean about creating this gusseted pocket. Try to do it this way a little bit. Fudge it a little bit, play with it a little bit. The thicker paper is more difficult. I always did these with the coffee dye, or coffee or tea dyed paper, and then I just decorate it. But I'm just trying to show you that you can actually use the double-sided, heavier decorative paper, the scrapbook paper. So then you would just go ahead and glue it down, and now you've got, I'll show you too from this end. It's a little bit easier to see, but you've got space in here. If I hold it still, maybe it'll focus for you. You've got space in here, and what I will eventually do with this, I'm not going to do it now, is you have this pocket. What I normally would do here is, which I may or may not do on this, probably won't just because this is so pretty. I may do something else. What I would normally do is I would cut a piece of paper, and we will do it on this one for the other book, but I would cut a piece of paper, and when I attach it, let's see, I don't think I have anything quite that size, but when I would attach it, try this. This is not the right size. But when I would attach it like this, okay, I'll cut it just a little shorter just to give me a little. Okay, it's going to go here. And then what I do is I fold it down along the fold line. Now, obviously this isn't the right size, but I'm just showing you what I would normally do. I would fold it down along that fold line. Okay, and then I would just glue it around the bottom edges and create a pocket in here. Okay, it's sort of a little secret hidden pocket. And what I had done previously is I just took a piece of paper, I folded it to match the triangle just a little shorter and tucked it in here. So then when you take out the triangle and open it, you've got a square piece of paper or two, depending on what you want to do. And then this would flip up because it's only glued here, and you have all this space to write as well. And then when you flip this down, of course, it's hidden. So you have that piece of paper, you know, you cover this whole thing with paper and glue it down. Then you take this pocket, a square, fold it, and just glue this part down. So then it creates paper, pocket with paper, the other, bottom part of this square, and then this flips up and does the whole other square. I think what I'm going to do here, because I want to make an ephemera folder, is I think all I'm going to do is make a little side pocket here and a little side, or a little strip, almost like a, you know, just a little strip of something here, a little strip of something here, and I can tuck some small tags or tickets in here if this is going to be an ephemera folder. And we can do a few different things here. You can put another pocket here on the front and put some other small things in here. And vice, you know, I mean, also same idea on this side, the same kind of thing. And then another pocket here. You can do the same thing back here. You could do bigger tags. You can put another small pocket on here, put smaller things, bigger things. When you open it up in here, this will actually stay turned down. You can either do a diagonal pocket and put things in, a side pocket, a bottom pocket. You can put a deeper pocket here with another pocket on top of it, and then just have layers like that. And you can just do pockets all over the place, fill it with larger things to the back, smaller things to the front, and just do an assortment of different things. If you put a second pocket up here, you can put shorter things, put the taller things in the bottom pocket, shorter things back here that could pop up behind it, or however you want to do that. But it can hold a tremendous amount of ephemera because you have a 1/4 inch basically of space in there to hold all of those pieces. So it can be done. I'm going to show you now what I do with the coffee or tea stain. I'm going to turn this mat back. One thing you need to remember is if you want to measure and measure exactly your 11 inches by 8.5 inches, do your measuring and mark where you want your marks to go, probably before you coffee or tea stain, because this shrinks as it dries. When you coffee or tea stain it. This is an 8.5 by 11 standard piece of paper, but when you measure it now, it is 10 7/8. Let's see, I don't know if you can see that. Let me put it here so you can see it a little bit better. I'll line up the edges. I'm on my 0 mark, and I am now, here's 11, 10 7/8. It shrunk a whole 1/8 of an inch. Okay, makes a difference when you're trying to be somewhat precise. It won't shrink the same amount this way because it's a different, the fibers are going in a different direction, where it should be 8.5. In this case over here, I think I still have 8.5. And let's just make sure. I wrinkled these papers too, which doesn't help. And this is still at 8.5. So you're okay here, but you're shorter this way. So when I do it on a piece of paper like this, I generally just do it by eye. I take my papers, I just play with them until I have them sort of where I want them, hoping I'm not too close to the camera. I tried to pull this up this time so that I wouldn't be quite so close. And that looks probably pretty good to me. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to fold it here. I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to fold it over there. I think I can actually fold this in a little bit more. Just, oops, get it straight. Just a wee bit. And then this piece over that way. I think that's straight. And then you're going to fold your flaps down. If, for some reason, you're a little off, which I might be here, and you're concerned about getting these flaps to line up here straight, you may have to go a little closer or a little further away from the edge here. I'm pretty close on this one, actually. I'm pretty crooked on this one. So let me back up a little bit. So essentially, you know what? When I'm done with this too, now I've got it folded, it doesn't want to cooperate with me. When I'm done with this, we're going to take a quick measurement. Let me fold the other piece back. Okay. So I'm going to fold this back, and I want this, I don't know if this is going to line up exactly with the other one. And this one is not gusseted. So I'm going to bring it in just a little bit. Try to get it even. Okay, and you can see that one is higher than the other. So you can compensate by pulling this down a little bit more. And then pulling this one in a little bit more. And that will fix a little bit, try and not get my head in the camera and still see what I'm doing. That will fix a little bit more so this lines up a little bit better, a little bit closer, if you're not going to measure. Okay? So, and then we can, the trick is for making the pockets right is to do the thirds, fold your flaps, then decide on your pockets. Okay? So if you want them low, you can have all that space. Depends on what you want to look at. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend you going right up against here because it makes it too hard to get anything in the pocket. I would say leave yourself a good 1/4 of an inch or so on here, and I'm trying to see my folds, which is right about there. So this is just like this one, except I gusseted this one a little bit. And like I said, they just go in this way, like that. And you burnish, and you burnish, and burnish. And if it's on, for me, if it's on the right-hand page, then I have it going this way. If it's on the left-hand page, I just have it going that way. It's just up to you how you want to do it. So if we measure these folds, and then I'm going to get into showing you the pages. It's just the construction, which I will probably glue together tonight, but we will decorate on a different night. So I'm going to try to see if I can see. This is about 3.5, and then this one, trying to see, I think is just, yeah. Okay, so this is at 3.5. This particular line. This one is between 7 and 3/16 and 1/4 inch. Okay, so it's 1 2/8, 1 2 3/16. This particular one is going right in between there. So this one's 3.5. This one is about not quite 3 3/4. It's just one line down, which would be 8, 9, 10, 11/16. And then this one, if I'm holding it straight, is 3 and it's a little over 3.5. So this is 3 and 5, 6, well, it would be 8, 9, 10, 11/16. So that's what we have there. Okay? And like that. So this is the way I folded it. If you want it the other way, then fold this part in first and then this part over when you're doing the first long ones. So that's basically how they get made. It doesn't matter. I'm going to see if I can find some small piece of paper. Let me see. Let me see here. I have this funny little notebook thing here. I'll use this piece of paper back here. I'm just going to tear it out if I can. And it's a nasty little edge. So we're going to trim it down. Just a piece of scrap paper. Let me get this. Try to line it up so I can get it somewhat straight. Okay. I'm not sure if anybody would want a purple fishbone page, but hey, you never know. All right, so I'm just going to trim this edge. Of course, this would make a very tiny one, but the point is simply, it doesn't matter what size paper. You don't even need to know what size paper it is. All you need to do is fold it into thirds, and you can do it by eye. Okay. I have seen some ladies do this, and they just boop, 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 and just fold, you know, like crazy. It's insane how quickly they can fold something. I'm not quite that coordinated. So, okay, I think that's probably pretty close to where I want it. All right, so I know I like that one. Let's put that one up here a little bit. Try to make it straight. It is. Ha, what do you know? Same on both sides. And bring that one in. Okay, then you're going to fold this one down to about there, and then open this one. I'm just doing it folded, just it's easier to see the edge here. And that's about, let's bring that in just a little bit more. That's about even, I'd say. Okay, now your pockets. So I wouldn't make this pocket too deep. You know, you don't want to go too far. I'm going to bring it up close enough that you can get something in it. I hope I've got this lined up pretty decently. I am hoping. Okay, so that folds in, that folds in. Let me try to get it, because I did not burnish anything yet. And there's your little pockets. And your pocket on the back, which is kind of hard to see because there you go. And another pocket, and you just of course glue the edges down. Another pocket there. Oh, that wasn't the pocket. That was the back. You have the other pocket here, right there, and then it opens up. The other thing that I have done is if I put, like on this one, because I'm going to cover it, I can put a decorative piece of paper, let's say. Let me find something a little bigger. Okay. And let's just say I'm going to do this, and I'm going to cut this for the sake of demonstration. I'm sure I'll find something to use it for. This is not by any means going to fit. I'm just doing this to show you for a demonstration. You put this little decorative piece of paper here. Okay, it's obviously going to fit. When you line it up along this edge, get something in here so you can see what I'm doing. When you line it up along that edge, you glue down the sides. You could put a little bit of lace or whatever you might want to put on here, and then leave this open. And then that's another pocket where you can put something, either a little tag or, again, one of those little folded pieces of paper that you can open up and use. Look at that. See how often I clean my desk? And you can do that too with the other side. If you're going to put it on the outside this way, you can do it that way here on the inside, tuck it in here. You can do your little flip flap in another pocket in here. There are so many variations on what you can do with this. So anyway, that just goes to show you, you don't even have to know what size your paper is. You can make it out of almost any paper. Mostly I do it by eye. Just a little bit easier for me to do it that way because I don't do numbers well. Okay, so what we're going to do here, and this is the last thing, I'm going to pull this out. This is going to be, I already cut these papers, and this is going to be the insert piece that we're going to use. I have some papers that I'm going to be using. This is going to, actually, let me find, I think this was going to be the background paper on this page, and then this pocket is going to go on here, and I'm going to use this paper, cutting it in various places to make my little pockets and my little pieces on here. This and possibly another one, or maybe two of these. I'm not sure yet. So that's what this is going to be. But what I want to show you tonight, and then we'll end with this is the construction of the actual page. So on Angela's piece, what I had in the front was this. Okay, so this piece is going to be on the front, like I said. Then and I wrote very small on here, I just wrote tuxedo and whatever, so I don't mix myself up. So then this paper opens. If you hear something funny, that's my dog dreaming over there. He has to follow me into the craft room and everywhere I go, almost. So then you'd open this page up, and this is where I had her belly band. Okay, the belly band was here. Then this page is where I had the little mini journal tucked into the side pocket. When you opened this was the collage page that was supposed to look like a quilt, and I had a corner pocket here and a corner pocket down here. Then when you flip this page, there was a gray torn paper, and I had little rose corners on here. And then she would open it this way, and this would be the same thing here, gray with little corners, rose corners on here. And then this page was the picture frame that I made the tag so that it had sort of a little loop at the top with a little half circle, and it hooked on there because the picture frame, imagine this is the picture frame, flipped down this way, and there was more writing space here and more writing space here. And then when you flipped it back, you're back to this tuxedo page. Okay, the other way it opens is not just that way, and that's why it looks so complicated, but it's really not. Is it opens like that, then it goes like that, and then you can open it like this, in which case you have the two, what was on hers, the two gray areas, and there was roses here, the gray area, and roses here. So the roses framed these two pieces, and then the picture frame was here. And then you could just fold it back up again, and you're back to the front. So this is two pieces of paper. That's what it is. This was an 8.5 by 11, and this one was an 8.5 by 14, which I believed, I don't know if I trimmed it down or just left it to, I did trim it down. I trimmed it down to 13 because I didn't want this pocket so deep. Okay, and yes, I do have some cracking here, but because the collaging goes over it, we're good. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to put it together, which is real simple. And this is all we're going to do. Well, I actually want to put some paper down here, so I'm not, let's see, I think what we'll do, yeah, I think we'll use this one. We're just going to bring it in here. Okay, so I can bring it all the way over for stability's sake, and I'm going to cut it just short. I had these folded for something, and I opted to not use those particular pages, so they were already folded. So what I'm going to do is just come in here, and I'm going to trim this down to fit. And this is gonna, I mean, I can put the other paper on too, it really doesn't matter. All I did for the collage paper on hers, on Angela's, was to just tear a bunch of pieces of paper that I was using, or in other scraps that I found. I think I'll just do it right here. Other little scraps that I found that I thought would match and work well. And I just tore them randomly and stuck them down. In this case, I'm trying to debate if I want to tear it. I think I may. It doesn't actually go there. It goes on. Yeah. So it goes on this one. So I think I will tear it. And I'm sure you've heard this before. If you tear, do it on a strip over here. This way is good. If you tear this way, holding it down, well, I'm right-handed, holding it down and tearing the top up, you get this white line. If you tear this way, away from you, the white line goes on the other piece and not on the piece that you're going to use, okay? In my case, I think I want to try to keep a white line, so I'm going to try to tear it this way. And I'm not going to do anything terribly dramatic. I want it, and I'm not worried about what goes underneath the pocket here. So that can stay straight. I'll just get rid of that. Sometimes it's hard. Your hand wants to do what's most convenient, and it'll switch the direction that the paper's tearing in. So sometimes you have to try to remember to be mindful of that. A lot of times I'm not. So I'm just randomly tearing. I wanted a little more. Now see, I've switched, so I have to make sure I tear the other way. I just wanted a little more, I don't know, haphazard, a little more random than tearing it with a ruler. I don't happen to have a tear ruler, but I know that if you sort of tear and just go like this, it makes the edges a little jaggy, but I want them more eaten, I guess is the word. So then I'm going to just take my ink, and when you do this with the white showing, it gives you a little bit more texture. You get lighter and darker spots, you get, you know, a bunch of different things, a little bit of a different look to it, a little more, I guess, grungy, a little more nature looking. And since this has got a kind of that nature-y theme, like meadows and, you know, things like that, that kind of a feel, I wanted it a little bit more rustic than not. So that would be my plan with this. So we have that. Again, like I said, I'm not worried about the inside edge. Okay. And this, where the mini journal is, I marked it. Always pays. I'm just going to glue this down here. And I think I'll use the Fabri-Tac because it'll go a little bit quicker for this. And get that glued down as best as we can. We want to be kind of not close to the edges here because you don't want it oozing out, which I'm famous for doing. Which anybody who knows how much these glues cost, it just kills you. So I want it a little closer to the line, but I do want it straight. This is going to be covered, so I'm not too worried about that. And then this leaves the edge. I can do other things with it. I can collage a little bit more if I want to. I want to try to pull some of that glue out to the edges. Out to the edges. It's going all the way across the thing. Okay. And then simply, and I'll do it with this, move that out of the way. We're going to run a small bead. Actually, I think I'm going to do this with this. My cap. we're going to run a small bead of glue along the edge here, right along the edge as best as we can, because we want to try to make this, I'm not sure if I'm off camera here, so I'm going to push this up a little bit. We want to try to make this as best as possible look as if it was one continuous sheet. Okay, so then we're going to put glue here, which I don't know, I think I'm off camera there. I'm going to glue that end, and I'm going to glue that end. Okay, and then we're going to take this piece, we're going to try to line it up, try to get it straight. Let me try to be on camera for you. Try to get it straight and right up against that fold if it's possible, and then fold it in and fold it down, and this is just a little off, so there we go. Okay, I'll use my bone folder just to, all right, this is going to show you, this is how, the only place where these two pieces of paper are attached. So, and it makes one long continuous piece of paper. So, here we have it. This is where the tuxedo pocket's going to go. We're going to flip here. We're going to do a belly band here. We're going to do, I'm trying to find something small. A little mini journal is going to go in here. Okay, we're going to start collaging from here out. So this opens up. So that's what you've got. Okay, one long, let me get this down a little better. One long piece of paper. Okay, so that's what we have. So the tuxedo pocket, the belly band, the small journal is going to go in here. The collaging is going to start here and wrap right around this paper and go all the way across here, and we'll put some pockets on. Then this is going to open up. We'll put some, probably some pretty decorative paper. I mean, you could leave it like this if you wanted to, but I had torn paper on there. You can put, you can leave it this way and do it like this again. Put another piece of paper down and then put more coffee dye paper on top of it. I'm not sure yet exactly what I'm going to do. So that would be all the collaging here. The two sections for writing here with some sort of fussy cutting, I don't know, flowers, butterflies, we'll see, birds. I'm not sure what we're going to end up putting on here. And then the picture frame goes here. So the picture frame will go there, and then that flips down, and you'll have more writing space here and more writing space here. It just depends on how I'm going to do that. So that's all there is to it. It looks kind of complicated, but it's really not. You're just gluing two pieces of paper together right here. And that makes everything that allows it to flip and flap and go like this and like this and like this and like that, or like that and like that, however you want to do it. But that's basically how that piece is constructed. So we're going to work along here. I wrote hinge back here so that I knew what side I wanted the hinge on, because I did it backwards on somebody's. I can't remember which one it was, but I did it backwards. It must have been Gina's. That I did, Firefly Studio. I think I put the hinge on the wrong side because it's a mirror thing. So basically that's it. And so our next videos is I'm going to try to decide a little bit more particularly what papers I want to decorate it with. I'm going to try to have that all cut and or torn or whatever and ready to go so we can just sort of put it together. And I'll tell you what I did, but that is the construction of this piece for Angela. It's really quite simple. Believe me, things may look complicated, but I'm a very simple person, so I don't like complicated. So anyway, that's it for tonight. So we've got the construction going on here. I showed you that you can make this thing thicker, thinner, any size paper. It really doesn't matter. And you know, like I said, mostly I do it by eye. And, you know, you can cover a lot of things with lace and ribbon and, and pieces of paper and embellishments. And if something isn't perfect, it doesn't matter because you know what everybody says, it's handmade, right? Okay, well, that's it for tonight, everybody. And I'm going to try to come back within the next couple of days. Like I said, I'm moving, so I'm trying to pack up my home, pack up our place of business because that building is closing. It's merging with another building. And I got a lot of stuff to empty out of that building. And I'm still trying to get to this stuff as well and keep to my promises and the commitments I had made before, especially, I knew I was moving. So that's it for tonight, and I will get back to you soon. In the meantime, be blessed, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.